Hello and welcome. Today we're in Kyiv. Today the 7th Army Corps is going to give a demonstration. It's a gathering of all the tech people, everything they use, all the startups around us. There are so many everywhere. So the setting is really nice, but by the time this video is edited, the place won't be active anymore. Above us, we have the motherland. All right, let's go inside and check out the highlights of the exhibition. First, Aerobavovna, the super balloons. Remember a few years ago I mentioned using some YouTube channel earnings to support this project? Today it's official. They have everything they need to relay communications deep behind the lines, spot attacks from farther away, see incoming missiles, and detect electronic warfare. It's super effective. Now, there are a lot of them on the front line, and that's also because so many of you watch the channel, so we were able to fund some nice balloons. This is DefTech, the smallest glide bombs in the world, 2 kilos. You take a Baba Yaga, you put it at 500 meters altitude, you designate its target because there's a great camera at the front, and that allows it to see what its objective will be. Artificial intelligence will guide it all the way to impact 6 kilometers away from an altitude of 500 meters. And so what's also interesting is that we can keep the drone at a great distance without putting it in danger. Usually you have to go very low, drop the bombs, and at that altitude you can get jammed, you can get shot at. Here they can remain as high as 6 kilometers in altitude. So we have to be within 300 meters of the target, but we stay at a distance where we can't be hit by an interceptor fired from the ground or by any firearm, which often happens when we have to go below that altitude. We're saving the large drones that carry and drop them, and keep in mind, it only costs $1,000. It's a great deal. So there's a little thing that's become almost normal, and that's seeing Maguras everywhere, in different generations of Maguras, getting more and more efficient, with longer range, able to stay at sea for days and days waiting for ships to pass or for a storm to come, for it to pass so they can continue their mission. They have built-in batteries, electronic warfare capabilities, and onboard cannon capabilities. This one has ANRR defenses, and their systems are becoming increasingly complex, because when you get close to an area that will be jammed, for example on the Russian coast or when you approach a ship, in reality you can't pilot the drone all the way to impact because it will lose communication. So now there are robots, drones in the back that will launch an aerial robot that will serve as an airborne Wi-Fi communications relay linked by fiber optic. And this allows you to have an ecosystem in which you have up to 8 types of naval drones that complement each other and start working together in a coordinated way. It's incredible what they are gradually developing. I'll let you see the size for yourself. It's much bigger than you might imagine when you see it in the media. There you go, and the size also provides a certain stability. Now it's controlled by Starlink, but you also have the cameras on top. The Starlink is just there, and then all the machinery, now you can see they're really putting some pretty impressive missiles on it. That's how it is. The Ukrainians managed to shoot down Sukhoi 30S and Mi-8S that were either trying to hunt them down or just passing by. Guys, now we're at M-Fly. What's special here? Look behind me, those are laser targeting gimbals. That means it's going to illuminate a target, and here you see the STANAG version, which means it's NATO standards. In 1991, a generation of lasers was invented. We thought it was great, we documented it, and we defined that as the standard. Except that since '91 it hasn't changed. But in reality, there are new technologies that have come along, like this one. This allows for a gimbal and a designation system that is lighter, requires less energy, is more secure, costs infinitely less, and can be produced in 3 weeks instead of 4 months. Except that NATO standards have stayed with that. That means today the Ukrainians are technologically ahead of us. They have designation systems that are lighter and can be mounted on smaller drones. For example, they have already tested it on the front line at a distance of 3 kilometers to guide, hold on to your seats. Now they simply guide kamikaze drones with it, and that way you can't jam them. You have your scout who stays 3 km away, a tiny drone, 3 km distance, and you have an explosive that will hit the target with centimeter precision. Artificial intelligence is no longer part of the equation. These technologies will eventually replace what was once expensive, especially without using fiber optics. Russians focused solely on fiber optics, but Ukrainians developed multiple technologies, giving them today's battlefield advantage. Here we're looking at a concept that's quite interesting, and we're starting to see a lot of them on the front line. It's a UGV, you're starting to see them, but simply put, it's a UGV, so this unmanned ground vehicle, this ground robot drone, will approach the contact line, and it's the one that will launch the kamikaze drones. You can see it here, it allows for a system that can get closer, so 3, 4, 5, even 10 kilometers. The pilots are far behind. They're not going to put themselves in danger. Once they get closer, well, you have these drones that take off one after another. Phew, they take off and you see they stay connected with fiber optics to the robot itself. Why is this interesting? It saves us from having to carry extra kilos of fiber optics, so we increase the payload. And then, generally speaking, if we don't want to use fiber optics, we can launch traditional regular drones, and that allows us to have a much greater operational range. And this way, we can hit targets kilometers behind the front line without putting humans in danger, and without having our pilot friends use a big radio or a large antenna that could get detected. So that's the type of system we're going to develop to strike farther and to save our friends' lives. We're now at DevDroid, the large ground robots. And be careful here, these are heavy-duty. They can carry 200 kilos of payload. This one is equipped with a 40mm grenade launcher. You can see the caliber. What's interesting is when we take a closer look around, you have the specialized system to directly control the cannon. Day-night laser rangefinder to measure the distance to the target, so it will automatically adjust the cannon. Up top, control is usually handled through Starlink or traditional radio systems. Normally, it's powered by a fully electric drivetrain. This allows it to be quieter and emit less heat, so it's less likely to be detected by enemy drones. Additionally, if needed, they still have a tank to recharge the batteries. That's why we say these are hybrid rechargeable drones. That's actually pretty cool. Next, here you have the camera. This is for piloting the robot itself. Here you have the microphone to tell the Russians, "Surrender, buddy." With this equipment, they're now able to gain ground on the front. They'll produce tens of thousands this year with significant results since it helps spare the men. A quarter of the men who are on the front line will be able to withdraw from the contact zone, the most dangerous area, by being replaced with UGVs. So obviously this one is configured with a gun. In this case, it's chambered in 12.7. But by just swapping out the top, it can be used for logistics or medical evacuation, so you simply adapt it to the mission. And what's interesting is that, for example, when it's for carrying out assault missions, the soldiers will put their bags on this UGV. The UGV will also carry the jammer to protect the team against drones. So in the end, the men are lighter, more efficient, and they have unmatched firepower. There's no pilot beside them because it's remotely operated, sometimes from across Ukraine or the world, via the internet. It's highly effective, and we're seeing more of them. And it's the first brand of Baba Yaga. This one is called the Vampire. I've already talked about it. We buy one every month with the Berlioz team. Careful, they now make 100,000 per year. The drone carries up to 40 kg of payload, and they are also very strong when it comes to interceptor drones. I often mention the Sting from Wild Wildernet, but this is the Pissoon. You can look up what Pissoon means online. We also see all the protection systems present on the front line, the jamming and electronic warfare systems that prevent the enemy from spotting us, dropping small grenades on us, or sending kamikaze drones at us until impact. The big difference with the systems provided by the Europeans, the Americans, pretty much everyone, is that these ones actually work, and that's not bad. There are a few things going on outside too. Robots moving around is normal here. There are also other versions of Magura with a simple machine gun. Well, simple. Nothing is really simple, it's just that it looks easy because they're strong. That one took a few hits, but it still made it back home. Not bad, right? All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm continuing my little tour of Ukraine. There are a lot of things happening right now. Many new technologies, innovations, and increasing investments are emerging in Ukrainian defense tech. We'll try to participate and keep you updated. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon.